Oh, a silent Raiju. Amazing. Completely silent Raiju, by the way. Can't even hear it. Well, I'm gonna go back to repair. Consider that clip that you just watched. I'm in a hunter attack helicopter trying to look for an off-radar target. I don't know what vehicle they're in, so the only thing I can really do is just listen for any jets in the sky and look around to hopefully spot it. But then, out of nowhere, I get hit by 3 explosive rounds from none other than a Raiju jet. The jet was entirely silent, making no engine noise whatsoever, and the only indication you can see looking back at the clip was a very small glimpse of the jet behind my minimap in the corner, but at the time, I could have been looking away from that area just trying to spot the aircraft in the sky. Because why would I be looking downward if there is no audio cue that a jet would be down there anyways? If we also replay the clip, I started getting hit before the Raiju even popped up on the map for me, with no indication on where the rounds are coming from either because the tracers were also invisible. And since my helicopter is now smoking, there's nothing else I can do in this situation but go back and repair, because if I stay there, the helicopter is just going to slowly die even without taking any more damage. So what exactly is the counter to this? Well, there really isn't one. You just lose every single time in this situation unless you happen to look exactly where the jet is at the exact right time. And I should also mention, if you didn't know, when the enemy jet has the silent aircraft bug, you can't lock onto that with homing missiles either, they just don't work. In this specific scenario, it is partially the fault of the silent aircraft bug that prevented me from being able to hear him, obviously, when he's right in front of me, right underneath me. But the Raiju itself, I think, has become just an annoying aircraft to fight against within free mode. But before we get into that, I want to first reiterate what the silent aircraft bug is for those who maybe don't know or are unaware of its existence. So randomly, I'm not sure what causes this to happen, but randomly, anyone's aircraft can completely become silent with 0 flight noise to other players. You yourself will still be able to hear your own aircraft all the time, but other people might not. In addition to that, their tracers from the aircraft guns will not show up for you, and they will become immune to your lock-on missiles. You just won't get a lock-on to them at all if you try to use them. This doesn't just happen in the Raiju, but in the Raiju's case, it's even more annoying because the Raiju is a stealth aircraft with a perma off radar feature. So the only way to locate a Raiju that's in stealth mode is by using your hearing sense and deciphering its location based on that. But if you can't even see it on the map, nor hear it near you, then you are dead every single time. How are you supposed to locate a Raiju then? Now, you might call me a hypocrite for making this video because of how much praise I gave the Raiju when it first launched. But now that it's been in the game for a couple of years, we start to see the long-standing effects of such an aircraft on especially the air combat within the game. Not that it was already kind of ruined to begin with by the Mark II oppressor, but the Raiju, I think, does kind of make it worse. Don't get me wrong, it's still a very fun aircraft to use, and its VTOL mode with all the tricks you can do with the physics is still very enjoyable, and I don't really want them to change anything about the handling of it. But the way it's utilized in combat, especially when the silent aircraft bug exists, makes for a very frustrating experience all around. Because all a Raiju pilot has to do is sneak up on you off radar, pop out of stealth mode, shoot a couple of shots, and then maybe it disables your control surfaces, say if you're in a B-11 or something, and then go back into stealth mode and dip. The Raiju is the fastest plane in the entire game, so any other plane that tries to chase it down to engage with it will never catch it. And it can basically outrun any homing missiles that you shoot at it too, if you even can lock onto it if it doesn't have that silent aircraft bug. So then the question becomes, well, what should be changed about the Raiju then to make it less annoying and frustrating to deal with in free mode? I think the main thing that should be changed is the explosive MGs. This is the main frustration point about fighting a Raiju, that just a couple of hits and you're dead in basically any aircraft before you can even react. In fact, all it takes is one shot to blow off any control surfaces on any of the aircraft, which in general is a balance problem with any of the planes in this game, but it's even more annoying when you put it on a stealth jet. So I did a bit of toying in the game files here and kind of modified the Raiju a bit. So instead of it having explosive MGs, I think it would be fair if it had the same guns that the other dogfighter planes have. However, I also buffed the fire rate of those guns a tad bit. It's faster than they normally fire, and they don't alternate sides anymore, so it's like one shot from the left, one shot from the right. They fire simultaneously, such as the Buzzard and Annihilator guns do. Now, it's not shooting as fast as the Buzzard MG or OG laser cannons for that matter. The fire rate is a little bit lower than those. So here's what that looks and sounds like. These are very strong, non-explosive machine guns that can still do damage to aircraft very effectively for that matter, but you'll have to hit a lot more than a few shots to win a fight that way, especially against an armored plane with a player inside it. This way you'll never get cheesed out of a fight with one shot disabling your entire plane because it's not an explosive gun anymore. Now on the other end, you can get shot out of the plane a lot easier though because these guns do a lot of damage and they have a faster fire rate now. So cockpit sniping would be a lot more common against the Raiju pilot, but I think of that more as a skill shot because that requires some very precise aim to pull off. I also changed the firing sound effect to the new Titan 250D 25mm gun sound just because I think it sounds closer to what the F-35 actually sounds like when it does fire its gun. And it's a bit more of a unique sound effect than the same machine gun sound that we have on like every single machine gun vehicle in the game. Now in return, I think the Raiju should have its missile lock-on range and range in general of its missiles increased, as the F-35 is known in real life to engage targets from a very long ways away. And you might be thinking, how would that even help the Raiju? Well, the missiles in general would probably miss the target if they aren't stupid and standing still somewhere. But having a far lock-on range means you can use the Raiju missiles as a way to locate and track targets from far away in the sky, ones that you might not even be able to see just with your own eyes. Let me give you an example of a situation. Imagine it's nighttime. You're in the Raiju and you're trying to locate a Mark II oppressor that's currently ghosted, which are very, very difficult to see at night, if not impossible to see unless it's right on your ass. Well, what you can do is cruise around the skies with your Raiju jet with the missiles on, and the lock-on will just about cover a good portion of an entire area at once, just auto-targeting the vehicle when it gets in lock-on range, which will then tell you, of course, where it's at. So although it wouldn't give you a big advantage in terms of lethality, because the missiles on all the aircrafts in the game just have horrible tracking, for navigation and recon purposes, it would help out a bunch actually. And lastly, I can't really do this myself to show you, and bombs don't really work in single player anyways because they run off of an online script, but I think the Raiju should have bombs. If you look at the undercarriage of the Raiju, not only is that where the missiles are housed, but it also has bombs on its model that you can see when you deactivate stealth mode. In real life, the F-35 uses guided bombs that it drops from very far away. Obviously, something like that probably wouldn't work in GTA 5, at least not very easily. It would require a lot of additional coding and new systems to be made for something like that to work. But having traditional bombs like on most other planes would be fine in my opinion, and a fair trade-off for getting rid of its explosive MGs. I think this form of the Raiju would still be very good for PvE purposes, because even the explosive MGs aren't that good for PvE right now. They mostly just fling enemies into the air, and they have so much health that you're better off just using the explosive MGs to ragdoll them and then switching to the missiles to fire and finish them off. But for PvP, it would make it so much less annoying to deal with and fight, I think. It wouldn't be 100% perfect. It would still be able to outrun every other plane in the game, which I guess you could decrease the top speed of the Raiju, so that's not the case. Or just increase the speed of homing missiles across the board, but that would be a bit too involved, I think, for this late in the game's life cycle. It's highly unlikely any of this stuff even happens, though I doubt the Raiju will ever see changes to it. At the very least, I wish they would fix the silent aircraft bug, because that's truly ruining the game. It is super annoying. But let me know what you guys think. Does the Raiju need some changes to it? Do you find them annoying to go against in PvP and free mode? And if you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, feel free to leave a like as well as subscribe to my channel for more gtaonline content. I also want to give a huge shout out to all of my channel members for your support. If you'd like to become a member for some exclusive perks, you can either use the join button or the link that's down in the description. And as always, thanks for watching and have a great day.